Welcome to the Dog Trainers Podcast, a podcast created by dog trainers for dog trainers or anyone who's ever fallen in love with man's best friend.
Episode 10, Why Dog Training is Important.
Right. So what advice do you guys have given this COVID-19 lockdown? And you kind of asked something similar to this, Mariano, as well. But like, what advice could we give clients, trainers who are listening to this, people who are just fostering for short periods of times, or volunteers who are actually, or people who are actually adopting dogs? Mm-hmm. How can we prevent these dogs from separation anxiety, from overprotection, from codependency, from these things that we predict might happen when we all go back to our normal lives?
So I approach it from the perspective of the dog that's being placed. So what I tell people is, it's not necessarily the goal of a rescue to like place dogs, quickly or however they can. It's our goal to place dogs to the best of our knowledge in a home that's going to be like long-term viable, because it's sucks every time the dog gets returned for whatever reason, and then you have like dogs that are just kind of rotating dogs that are always in and out, and each and every one of those circumstances just is another like example for the dog, and I would rather spare them if I could, not to mention people, depending on what happens in the household, of course. But my advice to people would be realistic up front. I'm glad, like if we're talking fostering or adopting, actually, I'm glad that you're a caring person who wants to help these dogs, either if it's for temporary or for the lifetime of the dog. But make sure that this is something you're talking about,
yeah?
Or well, both, okay. Like fosters or adopting,
Got it. Okay, sorry.
Either way, I think even if you're just fostering, but obviously, of course, if you're adopting, make sure that the dog fits with your lifestyle. And obviously that's a net that gets a little wider cast when you do the appropriate training, but just to an extent. I just met with someone the other day, because they were considering the dog that I'm fostering, and it was like it's a pit bull Catahoula, high energy, super working driven dog, very sweet, but like very no nonsense. And this girl was like a college kid, lives in a dorm, and I'm like, no, like,
cut it.
Yeah, and I'm like, and they have another dog and stuff like that, and I'm like, I just be realistic about what you've got and understand that the poor dog, just like you and everything else, their comfort and their like, why put them through the stress if this ain't going to work out in the first place. But once you do take on the dog, and just as a quick little tip for anybody listening who's like in the LA area, Corey or Brent, I've seen both of you guys do this thing to where, like, if somebody's not sure about what kind of dog, then call either one of these guys up, and I'm sure that you guys can talk about what the household looks like and what's going on, and then maybe they can meet with you or meet with the other dog and kind of decide if it's a good fit. That's always a smart thing to do. But once you get the dog, then I would say stick to the process because it works. Build a routine, crate training, food training, potty training, start building your obedience, then start socializing when the dog can bear it. Because I agree with you guys that like the relationship, it's kind of like credit. You build it, then you can kind of cash in on it, but not before it's time. And, and the longer you've been doing it, the more you've got to kind of cash in on and stuff like that. And you can, there can be kind of withdrawals from it if you do something wrong, or, then you have to take a step backwards and kind of meet the dog where they are.
Trust. You end up losing trust.
Right. And you got to make up all this ground this time, and so it's like, take things slow. I couldn't agree more with that. Build a routine. Couldn't agree more with that. But also just be realistic from the jump. Everybody depends on it.
Right.
Yeah, I think, right now, a lot of my explanations are, I'm preparing for a lot of dogs with a lot of separation anxiety once we're done with this.
Right.
Because we're spending all of this time with them inside the home. We're not having them be by themselves or separated. That's just the biggest one, right? Separation. Right. And not only the separation, but what are you doing with your dog when you're with them? When they're out of their confinement. And that's, and I'm explaining that because that's the way we work in our board and train program. Yeah. We're taking advantage of every opportunity we spend with the dog to teach something, to reinforce something. So that's what I'm trying to teach right now. Hey, when you're with your dog and, we're talking about the structure or your routine, keep up with that right now, because when you go back to work in a month, 2 months, whatever it may be, your dog's going to say, well, what the heck? I've been with you, for 2 months straight, just sitting on the couch. And then now you're going to leave me for 8 hours. Right.
Yeah.
So we have to, foresee that happening. And so we need to get the dog caught up to speed and educate them and get them on the routine for that future. And so a lot of that is just, again, education. Hey, look, I recommend we're going to do this for that reason. And people are going to say, and a lot of times they only want to put the dog in the crate when they've been bad, right? And so we have to educate them, and we have to say, yeah, but it's because of this reason. We want to work on the separation. We want to build confidence away from you. So that's the biggest one that I'm focusing on right now, is with these people, people who have gotten a foster dog, whether it be older or whether it be puppy, because now they're working on their potty training. And so I think, the crate training, and then trying to do as much as obedience as you can. You know, right now while you're inside, you're stuck inside with your dog. So let's be working on some obedience. Or even, like Brent's brain games video the other day, your live that you did. Yeah. Things like that. Like, do those things with your dog, tire them out, and then, confine them. So that's what I'm focusing on the most right now, which I think is kind of what we focus on anyways when somebody gets a brand new dog, because we're talking about, hey, don't do things too quickly. Don't give too much freedom too quickly.
Don't oversaturate.
Don't oversaturate. Right. So what do I want to say? Everyone I'm talking to, that's the conversation that we're having.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think all that advice is super helpful for people. Here's one of the things, guys. This is a preventative measure. It's kind of like, we are trying to prevent separation anxiety, because the reality of it is separation anxiety, isolation distress, all these different, things that are emotional distress to our dogs. They happen on different levels. And one interesting thing that I learned, just over understanding biology and understanding human psychology and animal psychology, was that dogs can literally get chemically addicted to us, right? They can get chemically addicted to always being pet or always getting attention from us. And what happens is dogs, like a drug, like when we are not there anymore, they will literally go through withdrawal symptoms from us, right? And this anxiety, even though we might think it might be as simple as like 1 or 2 days of getting the dog to adjust in it, when dogs get really, really attached or really, really, involved in a relationship with a person, unfortunately, that break or that separation is not so easy. And so many times, I'm saying this because I care about dogs, and I'm not trying to shoot ourselves in the foot as dog trainers, guys. One of the only ways to successfully deal with separation anxiety on a very severe scale, right? If it is severe separation, is actually having to send your dog away to training, right? The dog actually has to be rehabilitated now. And so what I'm trying to tell you guys, what we're trying to tell you guys, is there's so much that you can do now in the present moment to save you guys thousands and thousands of dollars of having to send your dog to board and train, right? Because at that point, when the dog gets addicted to you on a chemical level, on a biochemical level, now the dog actually has to be rehabilitated the same way an alcoholic has to be rehabilitated from his chemical addiction, right? And so we want to just let you guys know, this is these tips. I'm going to wrap up this podcast for now. Is there anything else you guys want to say in regards to rescues, how we could help people during this COVID-19 shutdown?
No, I would say just trust the process. It works. Do your routine, do your obedience, socialize your pups.
I love it. All right. I want to thank you so much, Corey. Hey, Corey, can you let people know how they can get in contact with you? Email, Instagram, Facebook. Tell them what you got.
Yeah, it's all going to be at Corcha Balanced Canine. That's CORCHA, and then the word balance, BALNCED, and then the letter K, the number 9. That's for my Instagram, and then my website. You can find it there, and you can email me through there, but you can find me on Instagram.
We'll put all those titles at the bottom of the screen so you guys can go ahead and reach out to Corey. He's local here in Los Angeles. Any rescue organizations that you want to give a shout out to that you work with?
I work with Wags and Walks here in LA. I also work with Love at First Mutt. Yes, Love at First Mutt.
Love at First Mutt. I love that.
Yes, which they're a new one that I've been kind of working with and trying to help out some of their dogs. And Love Leo. I also work with Love Leo Rescue here as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, shout out to those rescues. If you guys, we'll go ahead and put their websites on here as well. If you guys are looking for any dogs, go ahead and check out those links. You can check them out. I want to thank you guys so much for coming and joining us for episode 10. Corey, thank you so much for joining us from Core Chop Balance Canine. Mariano from Untamed Dog Training. We will see you guys next round. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for listening to the Dog Trainers Podcast, a podcast created by dog trainers for dog trainers, or anyone who's ever fallen in love with man's best friend.
We'll see you next time.